Anthony, so great to see you today. It's January 6th, 2022. How are you feeling?
Wow, a year ago today.
Yep.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Glenn Hausman here. Anthony is there. See? Boom! Like magic. He appears. How are you, brother?
I tried to take my my black screen off before it came back from commercial. It didn't work.
Yeah. All right. Well, your timing was almost impeccable. I think it worked out better this way. And Anthony, I'm excited because today we're going to be asking the question, why? WhyHotel, that is. We had CEO, co-founder Jason Fudin on, I think, sometime early last year. A lot, of course, has changed. And we thought it'd be fun to get him back. But before we bring him on, Anthony, how are you doing today, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, my friend. We're just going to gloss over the fact today's January 6th. A year ago today, they tried to take over our country.
I wasn't glossing over anything. I was choosing not to mention it.
Well, I'm choosing to mention it because
go ahead.
I don't care how
what's on your mind.
Listen, as a military guy, I don't care how you dice it or slice it. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Those people that went through there and did what they did, they're not patriots. So I just want to say that hopefully January 6th doesn't become the day I remember that like I did today, but it really infuriated me when I remembered how bad it was. So I just hope people understand we got to come together and that January 6th never happens again because we were very close to losing our country that day.
Yeah, I know. Fortunately, it didn't happen. And we can still talk about it a year later. All right. So, Anthony, I'm excited because, the hotel industry is going through radical change. But as we've been talking about for the last near 2 years, we've been doing this. And while this might be show 563, Anthony, I did a little research yesterday, and I think I did about 200 of these prior to us, which means we're well over 350 of these things together since we combined our shows with Checking In and Anthony and Glenn with No Vacancy to create No Vacancy Live. How cool is that though, right?
I think that's very cool. I also think what's cool is that we both have the same level of beard growth.
Yeah, well, for you shaved at like 5 a.m. For me, it was like I shaved 2 weeks ago.
No, I didn't shave. I haven't shaved in 2 days.
Yeah, same here. Though that's pretty par for the course. Anthony, I've been struggling because I've been trying to go get a haircut now for 3 days, but I haven't been able to pull myself together to go ahead and do that. So I'm hoping by next week.
Well, let's talk about what we just said. I can't pull myself together to get a haircut.
That's right.
So I would have my psychologist on speed dial if I were you. If you can't pull yourself together to get a haircut, you got bigger problems.
Anthony, the issue is not having the therapist on my speed dial. It's the therapist refuses to take my calls because they're so frequent.
Right, because you didn't get a haircut.
That's right. But once I get that, all will be well in the world.
So let's start the show.
All right. I was about to, but then you did that pause, and I'm like, he's going to say something brilliant. I better wait before bringing Jason in. But that did not happen. So let's just bring in our guest, the wonderful, the incredible Jason Fudin, CEO and co-founder of WhyHotel. Jason, welcome back to No Vacancy Live. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. It's so weird. It's live and it's video now. Last time I did this, we were just talking.
Was it? It was that long ago?
It was that long ago.
Yeah. It was pre-pandemic. We did the show together.
Yeah. It's been a long couple of years, obviously.
Oh, right.
In the hospitality
and Jason,
world.
Was I on the show at the time?
No, this is our first time.
I don't remember him. I don't remember you.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, hopefully today's memorable. Hopefully you remember me now.
Well, I remember the beard. I remember the beard, the shirt, and the hat all go together. So I'll remember that.
All
right. That's great. Oh, wait, producer Suzanne put up an important link. Oh, you can check out. Oh, geez. I addressed something of this on in 2018. That was before you guys were out there. That was the Pod Hotel, Suzanne. But all right, Jason, for those folks who don't know who you are, could you quickly share exactly what WhyHotel is and a little bit about your history?
Yeah, sure. So, so as you mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of WhyHotel. We're a company that operates at the intersection of apartments and hotels. So we are not your traditional hotel operator. We're also not your traditional apartment operator. What we do is within apartment buildings, we kind of bridge the gap between traditional home-like stays, 12-month leases in an unfurnished apartment, and nightly furnished and everything in between. So we run that full spectrum through our platform. And the platform for us is we run whole buildings, we run parts of buildings. We have a direct-to-consumer acquisitions function where we run 60+% of our business direct. We have a great relationship with our customers. And then lastly, we have a pretty serious back-end tech stack that allows us to kind of optimize both the stay for the customers and the profits for the owners. We do that in two main functions. We do something called a pop-up hotel, which is last time, Glenn, that's what we talked about. And that's someone builds an apartment building and they deliver it empty because, you can't have it full day one.
Right.
And we furnish the units and we run a hotel out of their vacancy.
Jason, I recall from that conversation, you were like, sometimes people will move in, like it so much, just stay there and take all the furniture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have people that stay in the units and they make it home. We have people that sign leases. And that's how we got started. Actually, when you and I spoke last, we just started operating that pop-up model in 2018.
And you had a property in New York City at that time. I don't know if it's the same building, but I know you're still located in like Front and Wall Street, for example.
Yeah. So we, at that time, actually, so I'm DC based. We do have property in New York, but we had just done the Washington, DC metro area.
Hello from West Corner, Virginia.
Yeah. So you're in what looks like the Bartlett, which was our very first pop-up. I actually built that building. So I was the development manager that built it before I did WhyHotel. And and our second business line, instead of just running hotels out of people's vacancy, we now take whole apartment buildings and run them as a forever mix of furnished and unfurnished short and long stay. And that allows a pretty robust set of guest and home experiences for our customers, and then allows owners to optimize their assets and make more money.
So if I had an empty hotel the first month I opened up my, building, I had an empty building, and what is the owner pays you to do it, and then you make money from the consumer? And do they give you say, okay, you're going to be in this building for a year and we're going to give you 100% of the units, or we're going to give you 20% of the units, then 30% of the units, and then 40% of the units, or we're going to give you 100% of the units and then 50% of the units for a year? Like, how's it work?
It's mostly like the last one. So someone builds call it 400 unit apartment building and they deliver it empty, and we'll take 150 of the 400 units and we'll pre-furnish them. And then we start running a hotel of apartments out of those.
But do they charge you rent?
No, we share in the revenue that we produce.
Nice.
So and who pays for the furniture?
The furniture is all rented, brand new furniture, and that's part of the expense to the deal that we calculate as part of that rev share. So WhyHotel, we're not in the business of signing leases. We're in the business of creating value and then sharing in that value with our partners.
Okay, so when they say, okay, we've rented 50% of the apartments, we've got to scale down, then you just scale down.
Yeah. So like that example of 400 units, we'll take 150, we'll furnish them. Let's say they're leasing 20 units a month. 18 months in, they're like, hey guys, we're about to catch you. We're like, great. And then every month we're giving them back 20 units. And then we get down to 30 or 40 units and we're like, it doesn't make sense to run the model anymore. It's too small. And then we clear the last set of units and kind of off we go to the next one.
And how many buildings do you have currently in operation?
I think we're at 10 or 11 now.
Okay.
We've done, so on the pop-up model, we've done a dozen plus now. On the permanent model, where we run the whole building for forever instead of just that little slice, I want to say that's the majority of our inventory today. That's like 80% of our inventory. Wow. I'm not sure how many buildings that is, maybe 7 or 8 buildings.
So how have you made that transition? Why have you made the shift? Because when we last spoke, it was pretty much all like that pop-up kind of idea.
Yeah. So, I guess a little bit of a spoiler alert. Our plan has always been to run permanently commingled buildings.
Right.
And our business plan from almost 5 years ago now is like, we called it a blended community. We now call it commingled. Yeah. And we just weren't comfortable at the time taking over buildings and operating a business plan until we knew the economics worked. And so our view was a pop-up is free money for the owner. And they're like a 12-month cycle. So we get to practice. We get to do one and like make improvements and do better. And then as we got smarter on, rate penetration and OpEx margins and switching costs and customer segmentation, we're like, great, great, this is how you got to run this thing. This is the tech stack you need.
Right.
And then we rolled that entire tech stack and platform into this permanent operations. The majority of our executive team came from institutional real estate. So, I was an executive at Vornado Realty.
Right.
We ran a couple $1 billion of development there. A lot of my partners and peers have run massive portfolios. We always wanted to get back into that scale. We just figured pop-up was a great way for us to learn a lot, produce, give some customers a great experience, some free money from owners, for owners, and then evolve into and add this much larger scaled operation.
So you have a CRS, you have a PMS, so if I come to you, like if I wanted to use third parties, can the third party book one of your rooms or no?
When you say
like a hotel or Expedia, things like that.
Yeah. So the way, yes, we have a combination PMS CRS where we manage all reservations and bookings. We integrate into all of the hotel feeds like the OTAs, Expedia, Booking, Airbnb, GDS. We do all the LNR stuff, locally negotiated rates. Some of the people listening know these words.
Sure.
And we also integrate with all the apartment stuff, apartments.com. And so that allows us to, from a central tech platform, be able to operate across the whole spectrum. We also run more than half of our business direct. We have a really solid set of relationships with our customers, both business and leisure.
Right. That's really, that's super fascinating. So, someone was saying, hey, you can have part of a hotel that, part hotel, part apartment building, which I love. And it's interesting that you were able to go back to what you were saying with your tech stack and all of that, you were kind of able to figure out in a low risk model because you were doing a revenue share as opposed to having to jump in and make that full investment on your own. That was pretty clever, I think. How much time do you feel that it took for you to really understand what your company wanted to be compared to what you thought it was going to be when you had the idea?
Do you know, day one, what we wanted our company to be is what we're building. Mm-hmm. The how you build, that's been the life education for me. So as I mentioned, I came from the world of building buildings, mm-hmm. which is just like you need windows and you need bricks and you need concrete. Building a company is like building a living organism, right? Everything interacts with itself, and you can't just chunk the pieces. And that was one of the really early lessons we learned was talent acquisition, talent development. Like how do you support a workforce that can grow the company and grow with you? And we've spent a lot of time and energy on that. And honestly, that's what pulls us forward. We are in the execution business, right? Like our business model is out there.
Right.
Anyone else could try to copy it. Best of luck to them. And so we're really in the execute, improve until we're at a place where we'd be very hard to catch now. Given all the lessons we've learned and the quality of the team we've employed.
Yeah, so, I had a guy I worked with, and he had a whole bunch of real estate, condos, and he opened up hotels, and he was very successful, made more money from the hotels than he did from his buildings, and sold all of his hotels. And when I asked him why, he said, because there's people that I have to deal with in hotels every day. I just have to collect rent in my other buildings. It's much different mindset.
Yeah, you gotta, and the thing is, if that turns you off, you're in the wrong business. He was probably right to sell his hotels. The reason, so I did my degree in engineering when I was a kid.
Right.
I'm a very technical person, analytical person, but I love people. I love being around people. I love being able to provide services to people. And that's why I'm in this business. It takes a lot of minds and bodies to go run a on-site 24/7 operation, and when you scale nationally, that's even more. And our guests are both a source of joy, exhaustion, and entertainment. And if that's not for you, then you're definitely in the wrong business.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you were just starting off the company, and then in March 2020, all of a sudden we had this COVID thing hit. Most of the hospitality industry has been decimated, but everyone I talked to in extended stay that have similar or different models than you, but the same concept of long-term spaces, they seem to have done well. How did you fare over the last 20 months or so? And what did you come out of the experience learning?
Yeah, so it was painful. We did a bunch of layoffs and we reoriented the business. We were set to open a pop-up every month in 2020.
Wow.
And we pulled back and we said, we're not going to open anything. These pop-ups run for 12 to 18 months. And we thought COVID would take 12 to 18 months. Here we are 2 years later. Mm-hmm. And so we did some serious scale back. Our actual property performance was unbelievable. We maintain an occupancy north of 80% through
Ooh.
all of the heart of the pandemic.
Yeah, I was just talking to a chief development officer with Mint House last night, and he was saying they did the same thing. They're like more of a long term.
I know the Midhouse folks.
Oh, cool.
Their model is or had been a lease model,
Mm-hmm.
which means you kind of take it on the chin if you don't hit rate.
But
But
same thing with Sonder, right?
Yeah, same thing with Sonder and with Stay Alfred that's not here anymore. And Lyric.
Are they still in London, Stay Alfred? Or are they just
no? I mean, they liquidated as a company as far as I know.
Okay, that's too bad.
And so like that was that time, and we performed. We luckily, I won't take all the credit. Sometimes better lucky than smart. We had just raised a really large Series B round at the end of 19, so we had $22 million of fresh powder, and our business is in the profit share game. And so when we had a property in Houston where oil dropped 70%, no one was staying in Houston.
Right.
Well, that one we didn't lose money, we didn't make money. But then we had properties in the DC metro area that did incredibly well because of the government. Some stuff in Seattle that did really well because of longer stay business. And then kind of as we ran through COVID, we actually improved our unit economics in each property. And then we spent a lot of time teeing up our permanent product, we call it hospitality living, these commingled buildings. And then that kind of set the stage for us in 2021 to really put our foot on the gas and accelerate with a lot of these permanent projects. Over the heart of COVID, we increased the size of our tech team. So we just kept building and building to make things more and more efficient, more tech-oriented, better customer service. So, I'd say net effect, we're bigger than we've ever been. We have more inventory. Our margins are better. We're in a really solid spot, more than solid. We're in a pretty exceptional spot. But the shock of it all at first was definitely, pretty rough.
No doubt. And during that period, you probably, it's like the law of unintended consequences type of thing. Things happen that we didn't expect to happen. What was the best thing that came out of this experience for you, even for your business or just how you think and operate a business?
Let me think about that.
Yeah.
I think there's two best things that happened for us. The first best thing is the conventional real estate investment world is highly calcified, right? Like, this is how we do it. This is what it is. This is how everything is. So debt works. This is how equity works. These were our partners. And all of a sudden, people's stuff got blown up. Like, whatever anyone assumed was like the way you had to do things was out the window. And that really opened up a lot of minds that we now partner with. And that's probably one of the most powerful things that happened is it accelerated people's ability to think about how they could own, run, and operate buildings differently. And that's created a tremendous amount of opportunity for us. The second really big thing is we kind of got a do-over at building the company. And that is that we'd raised a bunch of money. We were in a really solid financial position. We did a bunch of layoffs. And me and my co-founder were first-time business builders.
Right.
And so a lot of things that we should have put in place in the beginning as we hired people, as we trained them, as we made decisions, we hadn't, and you live with those legacy decisions. And while it was incredibly painful to take 5-10 steps back, that also meant we got to take all of the knowledge and learnings from the first 3 years and apply it as we then blossomed and grew. And that is serving us very well today.
Yeah. Interesting. Anthony?
No, you put in the right, we were just talking about this morning, and you have to lay the foundation of the service standard and culture, right? I hate the word culture, but if you live the culture and you really speak the culture every day, then in my opinion, like, you're allowed to use the word culture. But so many people throw that word around, and you realize it's like, hey, we have a business model and we can make money, we can do well. But one of the things you realized is it's all the nuance. The nuance makes you scale really fast. If you put in all the big bricks, but you don't put in the right mortar, the bricks start falling apart. And so the mortar nobody pays attention to. But if you don't put the right water and the right, you don't do it the right way, the bricks fall apart. And so I've heard that so many times where people are like, especially during the pandemic, I get a do-over. We kind of went back and we realized it's the nuance. And the nuance is, like you said, the training and spending more time on hiring people and telling them your philosophy, because most of the time we spend terminating people, at least in the hotel industry, as opposed to if I had $1 for every time somebody said, I don't have time to interview every person, I'm like, well, you have time to fire every person.
Yeah, we take the talent acquisition process very seriously. The next big thing for us is talent development. We're young enough where not a lot of people have grown up through the organization. We hired fairly senior early on because you needed a bunch of experienced folks, but now we're hiring a more junior team. And it's like, how do you support and develop them so that they can grow into some, really important high performers for you? We actually generally don't use the word culture because it is a little of a loaded term. We talk about the norms, like, the social norms, just like you have social norms in your communities, in your family, at work. Like, if everyone knows what it means to be here without having to be able to say it, then we're doing a great job. If every pod and pocket of the company operates a different way, we're going to have some serious problems as we grow.
Right. That's interesting. And while you're growing, viewer Dharmesh Patel is saying, hey, do you take existing hotels for conversion? Or let me add, or is that not possible because of the nature of traditional hotels that might be ready for conversion?
Yeah, so we do. We take over apartment hotels that have that kind of in-unit suite, kitchen experience. But no, we don't take over traditional hotels because it just doesn't match our product offering. And honestly, we wouldn't really add any value. I mean, we could probably run the expense side a little more efficiently. 80% of our guests are contactless check-in. We do a bunch of things that are tech-enabled. But the real pop is the fact that we brought these two uses together.
That makes sense. Anthony, do you have something, or should I?
No, that makes. I knew the answer before he answered, because it wouldn't make sense. You'd have to renovate it too much, and you'd have to curtail too much of what a hotel is.
Hey, look, Taylor Phillips is watching. She says she works at a WhyHotel now. I think
she does. She actually works right behind me.
Yeah, she we met her down in DC at Riggs, I believe it was. I think that's where we met.
Is that the young lady?
I'm pretty sure. Taylor, let us know. Is that you who we're thinking about?
Wait. How did you?
November 2020 right now. When we were there.
How did you find her? Did you find her? Or did she find you?
Oh, she's just popped up right here. Boom.
No, I'm talking to him.
Oh.
I think one of our GMs hired Taylor, and she works at one of our pop-up hotels, literally right behind me, one block from our HQ office.
Well, I got myself in a little bit of trouble because I almost took her from the Riggs Hotel. Yes, it's me. I walked in. So let me tell you the story.
All right.
I walk in and what are we doing? I was there. What were we doing?
You were there. We were broadcasting live. We did 2 shows from there. We had Chip Rogers on, and we had the GM.
Well, and I had to do a commencement.
Schmitz,
right? I did the thing there too, right? So I had to do this commencement video because of COVID. So I promised my university I would do the commencement speech. So I kept in and out. I fell in love with her the second I walked in the door. There was something so just innate to our business. Like, I literally, like, how much did I talk about her for like 24 hours?
So much more than 24 hours. So much so that the company called us and said, you got to stop talking about her.
Yeah, because people are going to steal her. I got in trouble. And and again, I'm not going to go too much into it, as opposed to just saying there's something you can't train. And she's a superstar, Jason. I'm telling you. Well, I would have her run my company. She is a superstar.
Well, I don't know Taylor all that well. I've only met Taylor.
I'm telling you, get her in your office and have lunch.
She's down the street. I'll ask her to come by.
I'm telling you. Listen, I've traveled to 50 countries, 48 states, and most of that in the last 10 years. I've checked into thousands of hotels, met thousands of people. I talk to people. I mentor people. She stands above everyone I've met, period.
Okay.
That's including awesome. Me. And he tells me that every single day.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, obviously we take a lot of pride in who joins the team here. So that's all great news. I mean, obviously Taylor's listening. I'm looking forward to catching up with her after.
Yeah. All right. And I'm going to ask Taylor if you did. If you didn't, I'm going to come after you.
Okay. Go for it.
So, Jason, you've got good team in place, but you were talking about technology as a great enabler. One, not just to improve on the customer servicing aspect of it, engendering them to what your products are, but also to help you run more efficiently. What are you doing, and what are the results that are different than what everybody else claims to be doing out there and doesn't seem to be really making such strides as you are?
Yeah, so one of the big differences for us is we run apartment style product, which means we have this, like I said, 12-month unfurnished days where you get hotel services, 3-month furnished days like interim housing, weekly, nightly. Oh yeah, Martin's on our team too. Martin's over at Front and Wall, our hotel in New York.
Ah, cool.
Does everybody work for you?
Everybody
Hey,
who's great works for us. And if you're great and you're hearing this call, if you don't work for us, go to the website and apply for a job.
Before you answer that question, I want to kind of go back because since he brought that up, I always tell it's about moments and connections. I met this young lady just checking into a hotel. I was very impressed with her. I am now on a podcast that everybody in our industry listens to with her boss, okay, with the founder of the company. And I just gave her the best reference you can ever give because she could gain nothing from me when I was checking in. She had no idea who I was. She could gain nothing from me when I was checking in. And now because she was just a nice human, I was able to give her a reference to her boss live on a podcast. That's why you have to do the right thing when nobody's looking.
I mean, I think you have to do the right thing for people generally, right? Like nobody got anywhere without others kind of stepping in front of them and pulling them up and supporting them, and myself included. And I still remember the first development executive who said, hey, here's the keys to the Cadillac, go build a $400 million building, 29-year-old kid. And like, I'm here for you. And like, you need people in your career to basically say, I'll step in front of the bus for you. And like you said, some of that's not trained and some of that is those norms, right? Like if you have a toxic culture at your company, that doesn't happen and there's a lot of finger pointing, and we're not immune from that. We're growing quickly. Things don't always go perfectly. But if from the top, that's the attitude, then that kind of shit rolls downhill, right? Like that's what you get.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you answering Glenn's incredibly good question.
Yeah, I know, probably.
Well, I'm wondering how well you guys know Martin too. We love Martin.
Yeah.
Up in New York. Anthony, do you know Martin? Do you have great things to say about Martin too?
Well, I don't know. He had never checked me into a hotel, but yes. So what hotel does he work at? Or
he works at Front and Wall in New York City, down in Fidei.
What is it called?
It's called Front and Wall because it's on the corner of Front and Wall Street in Manhattan.
Okay.
And it's in Fidei in downtown New York.
So how's that doing down there? Because I mean,
honestly, crazy well.
Really?
Unbelievably crazy well. We took over that property in November with our partner. It's a beautiful property. It was well designed, and it's one of those those buildings in America that was built as apartment style hospitality.
Right.
And right in the heart of Manhattan. And it we opened the first month and like the volume overwhelmed us.
Really?
Bookings. And that's for two reasons. Kind of first reason is, it's a great product and a great location. The second reason is as an apartment style product, it's differentiated. Right. So if you're looking for a studio or a 1 or a 4-bedroom, which we have there in New York, you can't find it. It's not easy to get to. Certainly not one that's legal or institutionally run or run at some scale with beautiful views of the river. And then if you're staying longer, it's also a great product. So we see a lot of folks who are like, hey, we have students coming to town on a regular basis. We'll get a unit for 5 months, because of what's going on over a couple semesters, or training programs, or hey, I'm coming back into the city because my company's no longer remote. And it's just a great transition place for folks. So that one has been performing beyond our wildest dreams. Even in December with Omicron kicking in, we thought, that'll really soften New Year's Eve and Christmas. And Christmas in New York is a very unique thing. And, we took all the appropriate precautions and people definitely showed up.
So let me ask you a question. If I spend $5,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment down in that area a month, are you higher or lower than a number like that?
On a monthly basis, we'd
without
be higher.
even going into numbers, I don't even answer that question. Could I get a place inexpensive, cheaper in your building than I can in a regular building downtown?
No. So if you signed a lease, let's say your lease was $1,000 a month, to make the math easy.
Right.
You're locking in for 12 months and it's unfurnished. In New York, we would probably charge you $2,500 a month for like a 2.5 times for a 2-month stay. But you get the benefit of flexibility. It's turnkey. You show up, the internet's on, you can stream Netflix or Hulu, the housewares, like it is a turnkey home.
And you get to live in New York City for $10,000 for 2 months. Oh my God.
and you get to live in New York City in a gorgeous building right in the city for 2 months. You got it.
All right. So, Jason, are you finding that the people that are staying with you, I know you said people are coming back, blah, 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 but is it mostly corporate, or is there a leisure component to it? Because the reason why I asked that question is most of the hospitality industry has been topsy-turvy. It's been much more, leisure than business oriented. But I'm finding in products such as yours, a lot more, it seems to be business oriented in either white collar jobs or health professionals or that sort of a thing.
Yeah. So we've historically leaned more business because we're core urban and not
Right.
and not in resort locations.
So you theoretically wouldn't really be attracting or going.
Yeah, and that was early on in the company. But since then, we opened almost a year ago now, Midtown Miami. That's heavy leisure. We opened New York. There's a ton of leisure there. We saw a decent amount of leisure in Seattle and Houston with the rodeo. But historically, we've leaned business. And honestly, it served us very well at the start of COVID because a lot of folks that needed interim housing were on the business side where you had relationships. And that's how we filled up quickly. The leisure side is a little more fickle because I need to be traveling to that place at this time. And, we're not of a scale where we have a national brand presence. We really, property by property, look at getting better reviews than everybody, having a better experience, and executing. And then we pick up pace pretty quickly on the leisure side. But on the business side, we've been doing that for a while now, and we have really deep relationships there.
So what's the difference between your brand and like an AKA?
I'm going to be thoughtful with my answer.
Don't worry, we won't go tattle on you to Larry.
You're not going to tell Corbin?
Well, they've been on our show and they're friends of mine, so be nice.
Yeah. No, and they're friends with lots of our friends, and we have a great relationship with them.
Just for the record, everyone, Larry Corman's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met on the planet.
So,
right,
the biggest difference I think is that they run apartment hotels, right? They have created an apartment hotel as an institutional asset class in the United States, which they're probably the biggest operator of straight up apartment hotels. They also do traditional multifamily, but in that case, they run corporate housing. They don't run this kind of commingled flex, right? Like if you go to an AKA, like AKA Wall Street down the street here, it is like checking into a hotel. It is a hotel experience. You just happen to be renting an apartment in lieu of a hotel room.
Right.
Where we move across the spectrum, we have varying levels of service. We have varying levels of furnishing. And we move and we optimize the income based on what's needed. And then we have a full tech stack behind that allows us to keep OpEx down and delight our customers. As far as I'm aware, their product, like I said, is an apartment hotel that uses traditional tech stacks for their guests, and then runs it that way. So those are probably the biggest differences. They're also, when it comes to, they're a long time Philadelphia family with deep, family office real estate pocket money. And so a lot of their investments are for long-term holds, where when we show up, we'll go to deals where we can instantly make money for our partners. And so that's a priority for us.
Right. So you're more, you're a different, it's a different business model.
Right.
That's right. I mean, there's customers that will look at us and AKA. In fact, one of AKA's top salespeople joined us pretty early. So there's some overlap. But yeah, in the end, we basically run 4 products: unfurnished homes, long stay furnished homes, that kind of interim housing, and then transient through vacation rental, with varying levels of service. And they generally run They generally run a hotel of apartments.
That makes sense.
Or they run apartment buildings. They don't kind of move between the spectrum.
By the way, they have a superstar who's a very good friend of mine who worked for me a long time ago and still one of my dearest friends. And I'm not going to tell you her name because you can't go. You can't go after her.
All right. Well, because if we knew, we would.
She's a superstar. I know, that's what I tell you. She's a superstar. So honestly, I don't think she would ever leave them. I'll be honest with you.
Jason, let me ask you this question then. When you have a building and you've got a mix of shorter term, still more of the extended stay variety, and people that are leasing for a year or whatever, is there a particular mix that you're going for in general, or is each building different. The reason why I ask is because it's an interesting way to really be able to maximize your returns if you play it in the right percentages,
So
right?
each building is different, each season is different, and
Right.
each macroeconomic environment is different.
Whew.
And I'll walk you through that. So each
Yeah.
building is different in that a 500 unit building in Fort Worth is not going to have the depth of demand to have 400 furnished units. A 500 unit building in Manhattan would. And so one of the things you're looking at is the fall off in demand at certain volumes on the furnished side relative to the unfurnished. The next thing you want to look at is seasonality. Some markets like LA, completely non-seasonal.
Right.
Some markets like Boston, Chicago, very seasonal, where there's an advantage to furnishing units in the good seasons and then having them unfurnished in the bad seasons where you can get the multifamily income, and that shrinks your furnished box and allows you to push rate and optimize the income. And then the last one I talk about markets is that it depends on where debt markets are and where cap rates are. And so there are situations where you may want to flex up or down in either category depending on how cheaply you can get capital and how much the thing will sell for.
Talk about that a little bit, but go back because people,
I'd say, and the way we
when you talk like that, people don't understand. So explain that.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're, So
this is like Hotel 101 for a lot of people.
Okay. So if you're buying an apartment building in, let's say, Nashville today, you're going to spend whatever profit it makes annually, you're going to spend 25 times that to buy the building. So if it does $1 million a year in profit, you'll pay 25 million for that building. It's kind of like buying a treasury bond. It's the same thing. You pay as a multiple on the coupon.
What's the cap rate for that, Glenn?
I have no idea, dude.
Yeah. So that'd be a 4 cap, right? Because
All right. 4.
Nashville's actually selling sub 4 caps today, but we'll keep it simple. So $1 million of profit annually in Nashville, $25 million apartment building. Then if you were to look at buying a hotel in Nashville, if it had that same $1 million income stream, you'd be paying not 25 times its money, but maybe 16 times. So it sells for $16 million.
Right.
And so there's this game to be played of income stream meets multiples. And then the interesting thing about debt is that hotel debt is more expensive than apartment debt. And so if you have an apartment style product where you get apartment style debt, which is cheaper, meaning you're like monthly, but you get hotel style income streams, you now pair together higher income streams, meet lower debt at great multiples, and you have these assets that are just worth to owners dramatically more money and throw off just a ton more profit after debt. That is why we've bought a couple buildings in Nashville. Nashville's a strong market for it. And so that's the value. We've now created, real estate generally doesn't have an option. Like, you trade for stocks, you can buy options on stocks, like puts and calls and ceilings. In real estate, you buy the building, it's got one use.
Right.
Our ability to take apartment style inventory and to move it across that spectrum of income stream, customer, and then profile from the real estate side just creates a tremendous amount of value in the real estate. And our view is in the next 3 to 5 years, that's the majority of what you're going to see built in core urban markets because it's just so much more valuable to the real estate folks. When you flip to the consumers, they also get so much more. They now get a 600 square foot 1-bedroom apartment instead of a 170 square foot hotel room, and they're paying the same rate. And so you have a situation where our product is the same price as the Residence Inn or the Westin.
Right.
It's 4 times the size with a full kitchen and a washer dryer. And we're comfortable taking that same rate because of the financial engineering on the real estate side.
Yeah. Right. And I'll tell you from the consumer point of view, I started to discover these properties about 5 or so years ago, and I immediately fell in love with them because of what you are saying. A lot more space for the same kind of money, or in some cases, even less expensive. When you're going to a particular major city for a specific conference, those hotel rooms get really super expensive. And I noticed, I don't know if it's still the same, but a lot of those other hotels,
so you'll see if you rent something on Airbnb from an individual, you could probably pay less. Because they're not sophisticated on pricing optimization. But if there's a conference in LA at LA Live and we have something a couple blocks away, you can expect to spend
Do you have something in LA Live?
We don't. We've looked at a lot of stuff in LA.
Yeah.
I expect to be there sooner than later, but we haven't.
Well, I hope so. Let us know because Anthony and I, we're going out for the Alice conference in 2 weeks. So maybe we can in 2023 we can do a show from wherever you
All
guys.
right, that sounds great. We'll make a point of getting an LA hotel
I
before
would
23.
please do that for us. That would be
All right.
really
So how often do you clean the rooms?
good question.
So that depends on what someone wants to pay for. So pre-COVID, our standard was if someone booked through an OTA, we turned them nightly, and if they booked through
Really?
Airbnb, we turned them when they left. Kind of during COVID, we did not clean during stays. I mean, we're still in COVID, but during like the heart of COVID, we didn't clean during stays.
Even if you're in there a month, you don't come in.
We went in once a week. And honestly, it's more for us than for our guests. We want to get eyes on the space, make sure that everything's as it should be. So, it depends on the contract, but once a week or once every 2 weeks would be the minimum. And now we're moving more toward an a la carte model where you can opt to pay a little bit more to have daily room turn if that's what you want.
Right.
You can opt not to. It's really your preference. Because this funny thing happens in the traditional hotel world, which is everyone's paying for nightly room turn even if they don't want it.
Right.
It's part of the cost. So the folks that don't want it are just subsidizing everybody else.
Right.
And our view on it is, especially in an apartment style stay where it's more like a home, right? Like, if you want someone in the space, you can let us know and you can pay a little more. Otherwise, someone's not coming in and changing your towels every day in your bathroom at home.
Well, speak for yourself, Jason.
Do you have contract cleaning, or do you do cleaning in house?
We do contract cleaning. We have
In New York. Are you happy with them?
I feel like he knows the guy.
I'm not enough in the details to be able to speak to that. But if you ever have any recommendations for us in any city, anybody who's great, send them our way. I mean, we're always looking for great partners.
Not great. She'll blow your brains out. Great. I just sent you a text, a private. I can send you her cell number. I don't know if she'll take on the clients, but there's nobody better.
Yeah, we'll love to speak to them. We do have cleaning team members in house. What we try not to do though is scale it too large,
right? Because
of the cyclicality of our business. Like if we have a lot of long stays, we're doing less cleaning. If we have a lot of nightly, we have more.
Right.
What we found early on was if we, it's called staffing for Easter Sunday. If we're staffed for cleaning daily and we're cleaning, bi-weekly, we don't have enough work. But yes, we do contract at most of the cleaning. And if you ever have great people, whether they're contractors or individuals, Anthony, we'll definitely give them a call.
Do you find, Jason, that the type of guest that selects your type of product over a hotel product is probably a little bit more, hey, I just want to be on my own. I don't really need to interact with you all as much?
I don't know that I would characterize it as that. I mean, that would kind of be like, that's kind of like with a cab where you're like, hey, do you need to like talk to your cab driver, or like, do you need to like, yeah, people enjoy it, but some people don't. And like, they can kind of do it at their leisure, right? Like we're always available 24/7. We're on site 24/7. But I think we've moved to a world where, there's a lot going on for a lot of people, and the seamlessness of just getting a key to their phone. Again, people can check in person. We're there. We have conversations. We tell people, but they can also text us and say, hey, I'm looking to go to Thai dinner tonight. What's the best thing in the neighborhood? And you're like, oh, these are the 3 best spots. I mean, our team, our back-end system is all integrated to text, email, phone calls that all get routed. So you can get that same level of service while you're sitting in your pajamas in bed that you don't have to, or whatever, or across the city.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. Anthony, got anything else for Jason over here?
No, just fascinated by the model. And, you have to go slow to go fast. So you're going to go fast real soon.
Yeah.
It feels like we're going fast now. So if we're gonna go faster, it's gonna get a little nauseating.
No, but you had to go slow. The pandemic.
Oh,
made you go
absolutely.
Slower. I mean, nobody builds. You if you don't build the concrete the right way, you fail.
You gotta, and also you have to learn before you implement, because if it's this really awkward balancing act between action for bias and doing something wrong at scale to then have to undo it. And so I think what we've done, what we've done well, and then to the benefit we've seen because of the reset during COVID, is we've had the opportunity to lay a really solid foundation on which you can build a lot.
Well,
right.
It tells me a lot when the young lady Taylor, who I met, chose to come work with you, because it means she's not going to just go work anywhere. She can work anywhere. She really can. I mean, anywhere. She calls me, and I'll put her anywhere. And
No, you won't. What are you talking about?
and then you also
This is
attract,
what you got into trouble.
but did you attract that talent that you know that it's worth, going out of your way and really interviewing the right people? It really tells me a lot about your company.
The way we think about talent is everyone that's joining here, we're high growth. And so, in a traditional hotel company, while it might take years like to go through different positions, if you start at the front desk and work your way up to GM and regional, like here, that can happen very quickly. If you're a high performer and you're doing a great job, like when you're expanding at multiples of hotels every year, like there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity for folks to grow with us. And so I think what that does is that gets a lot of people that are maybe, I don't want to say tired of the grind, but are like, I want to bet on myself. I don't want to just like put in my time. I want to bet on myself and perform and do something new. It means we just get a lot of really creative, hardworking people that kind of find home here, and we're excited to have them.
Beautiful.
We were talking about it yesterday. It's, people promise a career in the hotel business and then they get a job, and then people forget them. And then they work at the front desk and they're working all kinds of hours and they're promised. And one of the things that drives me nuts out of my mind is when employees are working and they have to go to their boss and ask for a raise or ask for what's my next step. That drives me nuts. It's like you promised them a career, but you gave them a job and you didn't go back and say, hey, this is what we're thinking for you, bad or good. It's like, hey, you don't have a career here because you're just not up to par. And people want to follow thoughtful people who are moving fast. There's a lot of people that move fast, but they're not thoughtful. In speaking with you, we've obviously learned that you're extremely thoughtful in the way you guys go about your business.
Thank you. Yeah, we think about talent development and performance management as combined. Those are the same thing, right? So you said like you got to give bad news and good news, and you got to be proactive. And I'd say that's probably an area we're still behind on. We've hired so quickly that we put talent acquisition as like the lead thing we had to get right, like get the right people on the boat. And now the next real big step for us is talent development.
But the right people on the boat will forgive that because they're too busy being the right people on the boat to worry about being, patted on the back. Just get to them eventually and they'll be fine.
Well, we're at that point now. We're doing a lot of work with behavioral science folks and other folks on the kind of future of performance management and development to make sure that we not only keep the best talent, but we grow the best talent and give them more and more responsibility. So,
and of course, go to whyhotel.com/join-r-team and get a job with these guys.
We'd love that. We got a lot of positions open. So
awesome. Jason, thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate it. Hopefully it won't be a length of a pandemic before we get you.
You know what I'm thinking about, Glenn? I'm thinking maybe it's job fair time.
Yeah, maybe so. I think that's a great idea. Let's figure that out. Let's give Dave more work. All right, Jason. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to see you guys.
Take care, Jason. Bye-bye.
Continue.
So I love that. That's what I like about the show. Really hearing about all these great ideas that are emerging and bubbling to the surface now. And what a great way to avoid these low occupancy numbers in urban cores.
But one of the things I hope that young people or people going into business, when they listen to this podcast and they listen to him, he's an educated guy. He's built buildings. He understands how to raise money. He understands human behavior. He understands it's important to take care of people. He's not in a rush to be a billionaire. He's not, he built it where it's really the developers kind of taking the risk and building the building. He doesn't have to worry about that. He's sharing in the revenue. So he's taking less, but he's taking less risk. It's a model that can really scale a lot faster when you're putting debt on and you're putting a lot of, like he's putting debt on to build his infrastructure.
Right.
He's not putting debt on. He's not raising $500 million to build buildings. And so it's a genius model. But when you listen to him speak, he has all of the experience to develop this type of business. A lot of people listen to him and see him say, oh, why didn't I think of that way? You couldn't do it. Like he said, we're so far, like try to beat Amazon right now. Good luck and God bless you, right? I mean, Walmart can't beat Amazon. So it's like he's built it and he's going fast enough where it's going to be hard to catch him. And it's just, so I don't listen to so much of, wow, it's a great business. I listen to, wow, you built this great business the right way.
Speaking of great business, building great businesses, Amazon in its early days actually hired the top people who created the logistics system for Walmart to bring their knowledge and expertise to Amazon, which really helped turbocharge that particular.
Wow. I remember talking to a I'll just say somebody at Walmart.
Yep.
And she was a pretty big executive. And I heard you're leaving, I say to her. And she goes, yeah. I said, why? She goes, I don't want to sound like I'm uppity or anything, but when I'm traveling, I can't stay in a $49 a night hotel.
Right.
Like they're so dead set on keeping the prices low that they make their executives find the lowest hotel in the city and stay there. So you're taking a person that's making X amount of dollars, who's been doing this for a long time, and has got a certain level, and you're putting them in a hotel that they have to worry if they're going to get their bag robbed.
Right. Yeah.
This was years ago, so I don't think they do that anymore.
I don't know. I'm sure they do not. All right, everybody. If you want to keep in touch with us and hear all of these great shows, but don't want to watch it, well, listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and wherever you like to get your shows. We are there, but for some reason, if we're not, let me know, and we'll take care of that. Make sure you can download us every single day. I'm at Traveling Glenn. He's at Anthony Hotels. Now, of course, we're off on Fridays, but tune in for the great return of our first Friday night audit tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Great guests, great laughs, great cocktails. Anything that you want to say before we go,
I
Anthony?
can't wait till we have our first Friday. Oh, we're going to have our first Friday night cocktail in the metaverse.
All right. Can't wait for that. All right, everybody. We'll be explaining more about that later on, but don't you worry. But for now, everybody, remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
And we will see you next week.
You still